This is Beach It.
Every night a million suns blaze all at once, resembling my exalted soul, says life, who is death, the shatterer of worlds. The Mahabharata.
Give me reason why I let you paint the sky so blue.
In the 1960s, the U.S. got super groovy and conflated psychedelic use and structural revolution with a general collection of broadly Eastern spiritual practices. Policies passed by Roosevelt and Truman were the catalyst for this general cultural and political revolution. The lifestyle reigned in the Western world during the 1970s, and the referential soup of foreign curiosities was sold back to the public, being necessarily interpolated back into the capitalist apparatus. Here, the emotional fuel behind this cultural shift fades, and states are being switched to aesthetics. The excessive reappropriation of experience into product creates the precedent for the West to exploit, murder, and rape the lands of the communities they are borrowing practices from. This process reveals the irony of organic, authentic, spiritual, non-materialistic, or hippie practices, as they, like everything else, become the horsemen of a non-natural anthropogenic future. Under neoliberalism, the production of spirituality in the West is the production of an aesthetic, goddess aesthetic. In the year 1969 is an approximation of when hippies and bohemianites walked the line between fugitivity and legibility. As Fred Moten says, fugitivity, then, is a desire for and is a spirit of escape and transgression of the proper and the proposed. It's a desire for the outside, for a playing or being outside, an outlaw edge proper to the now already improper voice or instrument. This new spiritual revolutionary public lived fairly on the boundary between institution and the unsurveilled. Eastern mystic and unknown or shadowed practices were brought into the dimly lit border of the hippie revolution. Incense, medicinal mushrooms, bindis, even tasseled clothing were all incorporated as aesthetic choices. These were a multitude of factors which positioned this community on the outlaw edge. Some of these being the following: Richard Alpert and Timothy Leary dosed Harvard students with acid, and then later Ken Kesey rode around in a rainbow school bus high out of his mind. Later, Be Here Now by Ram Dass brought interesting monastic life in India. Finally, psychedelics and Vedic and Buddhist practices all blurred together. All of these elements were major ingredients in the groovy tune-in turn-on dropout movement. As time passed, these anti-institutional practices were seen and surveilled by the pre-neoliberal institution and became public knowledge. The particular revolutionary practices of those who attempted to live outside of American systems of war and oppression were surveilled by the public and transformed as the 70s arrived. Along with these new states of being, quote, Eastern decorations, tools, and literature were noted. This surveillance flattens experience into object, stripping it of dimension. Along with the hippies themselves becoming objects, all of the non-American influences switched from a previously unknown source of paradigm shift to a mere decoration. Once this revolution was noticed and read, neoliberal choreographies used the collective as a mechanism to communicate these ideas amongst itself. God has been experienced and then surveilled. Once hippie movements expanded and got a reputation as extremely cool or revolutionary, psychedelic, or enlightened, other people were curious to join in. Many folks read Be Here Now, but many didn't. Some people did acid, had a breakthrough. Some people did acid, suffered psychosis. Some people didn't do acid. The point is that hippiedom or freedom became something that was a desired state of being, not a mere experience. It became something people could attempt to approach or even buy. Symbols like the Buddha, various gods including Krishna, and many more signifiers were adopted by the American hippies to communicate their spiritual intentions. Basically, becoming a hippie was an option. It's much easier to hang up a picture of Krishna than it is to slog through Das Kapital, or join the civil rights or anti-war movements. This freedom became a common path, even in an entire culture, and continues to develop today. Now, after the return of the century, the bohemian exit from institution lifestyle choices are in fact deeply ingrained in institution. These choices are now curated, designed, and manufactured. Michael Hart elaborates on the transition of culture into product labor in the following passage. Since the production of services results in no material and desirable good, we might define the labor involved in this production as immaterial labor. That is, labor that produces an immaterial good, such as a service, knowledge, or communication. Now that spirituality is like a vibe, it can be bought and sold. Think of the Palo Santo smudge kits sold as a signifier of groundedness or holding a cleansing power, even though they're coming from a tree that's going extinct. The Palo Santo market ravaging the communities who actually know how to use it as it is a tool for its cleansing magics. These practices would mean something quite different in the Western world if it wasn't for Ram Dass and Ken Kesey. God has been experienced, surveilled, and sold. Quote, spirituality becomes a practice to make the self-product more expensive. With apps like Headspace, the concept of spirituality or meditation, yoga, etc. is siphoned into specific commercial products aimed at stability, mental clarity, or in fact, a way to mediate the violent effect of neoliberalism that has on the mind-body. Guy Debord has an excellent way of describing the aestheticization of God. Quote, the spectacle is the material reconstruction of the religious illusion. Not that its techniques have dispelled those religious myths in which human beings once located their powers, but those cloud-enshrouded entities have now been brought down to earth. The absolute denial of life, in the shape of fallacious paradise, is no longer projected into the heavens, but finds a place within material life itself. The spectacle is hence in a world beyond, and the perfection of separation within human beings. To contextualize the passage within this narrow topic, the religious myths would refer to the previously discussed darkness, the unsurveillable, the unseeable, the shadow. The world beyond would refer to American definition of enlightenment, or even utopia we can never reach as a material transfer of Munoz's utopia. We meditate grasping for something, calmness, understand the personal truth, and answer, enlightenment. But if one actually reads ancient Buddhist texts, or even the Mahabharata, we are told that all is sacred, all is holy. Even Baba Ram Das says, "I'm going to look for the Guru." How absurd! You are it! It's really just another cop-out to be searching for the Guru. He's your fingernail, just bite your fingernail and you're eating him alive. When you know how to listen, everyone's the Guru. Enlightenment is never here. This distinct neoliberal Debotian separation, the separation of the self from God. Neoliberalism uses spirituality as an incentive to purchase the closure of the gap between each of us and pure, unbounding bliss straight from the energy source. One cannot buy unity. When someone has an experience that transcends capitalist modes of communication, one must eventually return from said experience to live neoliberal reality. The translation from the prelingual holy to the communicatable object is the subjectivization of a sacred relationship. In the year 1969, the particular flavor of sacred was the unknown practices and non-surveillable, quote, mysteries of the East. Spirituality becomes problematic as the Western capitalist mind aestheticizes and sells gods as a vague melting cup of traditional Buddhist, Vedic, Native American, and other non-white indigenous practices. Whew. This was an essay I wrote. I hope that you enjoyed it. Okay, see you next time.
Cool.